going to start out with Tony, giving a in the field look at the sire summary and what he's seeing. It's always good to talk to somebody that actually seen daughters and what he's seeing out there. So appreciate Tony doing that.
Thanks.
Over to you.
Just kind of as Greg said, it's mostly bulls that I've seen daughters or know something about. Just because I don't talk about a bull doesn't mean that you're not using the right bulls or anything like that. These are just kind of what I see, what I know. There's new bulls coming up. It might be some second crop bulls that we're seeing a lot of daughters of. And they may or may not work for your herds, depending on whether they're doing milk or type or DPRs. It's just whatever you're looking at. We'll talk about a few of the top bulls, but I'm not talking about a lot of these bulls only because we all know about them. They're pretty available. I mean, Super Sire at number 1. He's being used very heavily as far as on the maternal side, and his sons are already kind of past that, but a great bull for people to use. Really good udders. Probably watch him a bit in the 4 udder, but very consistent. Really nice cows. Mogul, I call him, I was telling Billy yesterday, and even kind of looking at that picture there, I call him modern day elevation. And if you study pedigrees, there's a lot of Burke in his pedigree, and he makes those nice shapely udders with some strength and a little bit of that straighter leg and nice feet on him. Definitely a bull that's shaping the look of cattle these days. Would be Mogul. Lots of sons to use. Probably look on the genomic bulls. We have some available on hand, but you probably, as things are moving so fast, you probably want to start looking at some of those. If price-wise he doesn't work for one of your herds, there's certainly a lot of sons available with some neat crosses you can use. Donatello in at number 3, again a bull I haven't really seen many daughters of. He's not one I'll be talking about, but Robust was one of the early high genomic young bulls that we had and we used as a mating sire. Made quite a few sons, and he's been a great success as far as a sire of sons. Headliner we're going to talk about, brother to Super Sire. I really like the headliners a lot. I like them better than the Super Sires. I've seen a lot more of them. I would say I've seen more of them, but I've seen a lot of them, and I like their type better than the Super Sire for me. And we got Sterling on there at number 5, and then McCutcheon. He's the bull's kind of interesting. Kind of started off first few daughters. Some people like, some people didn't think a whole lot as they freshened. They're kind of tall, gangly, young cows, and now you go back to some of those same herds, and they've calved like 20 more, and they're just like crazy about the bull, and just think he's great. Really great as far as putting on really good udders, and definitely a bull that's going to make a difference on the type side of cattle. I think you're going to see some of the people that breed a little more for that fancier cow, because McCutcheon has quite a few sons with the high genomic type, so he's going to influence the type of cattle in the show ring down the road. Then we have JPIs on the Jersey bulls. Put these in here. I'm not going to talk a lot about Jersey bulls. I think I don't really get into the Jersey herds as much as I used to. I do know a few of the bulls. I think, at best at that is Tim Bumgardner. Sometime if you have a chance. Tim is spending a lot of time, and since he's been on, I do a lot less with that because I really don't have any herds on May. We really don't work with them as far as a set program. So
I heard today they banked a bunch of dimension sex semen. So if that's a bull that you're interested in using sex, now's a good time because we can get semen. When it runs out, then it's whatever he makes that.
But that's when everybody will ask for
When we can't get it, but I'm just, for those guys doing jerseys, if you want to use dimensions as a sex bull, might be a good time to order some.
Now you look there, like number 1, number 6, number 8, and you kind of go through. Valentino, a bull who's been out for a long time, and everybody's seen daughters, still up at number 24, and I think he's probably one of the best Jersey bulls that has come through the Jersey breed since Action himself. Very consistent. I think he's a bull where anybody could use him, that they should continue to use him. But again, Jersey breed, if you look at all Holstein's jerseys and the 2 major dairy breeds, it's a great stud to be working for because definitely we have the bulls that rank. We have bulls that of all kinds of marketability, so we'll go from there. One of the yes, sir.
Just real quick, I'll throw out the Topeka daughters are really good.
Yes, there's another one I've seen. He's great. Like I say, I didn't talk a lot about those, but they're doing a good job. And like I say, Tim does. Fred goes into more jerseys, hitting Ferndale and Petaluma, and he comes across some of those on his thing. Topeka is kind of going on both sides. They're even making some like super ones that have done well on some of the Midwest shows and stuff. Guthrie, one of our older bulls, put up here. I know he's a minus milk bull, but man, when I go through the herds, the Guthrie daughters, people really like him. Really good udders, great frames. He's a bull that's still high on his components that you could use. Still plus on productive life. Calving East sire. Gold Wind sons are kind of getting a lot away from that, so there may be places where he kind of comes in. When you'll kind of look at our lineup, he's almost an outcross to a lot of the bulls we have today. So, but anybody who has them, they just get better with age. Great type bull, and still available. Sex semen still coming in pretty good, Phil.
I can't answer that.
We do have some though, but still available. So again, if you're looking for the kind of guy that likes solid bulls, that does a good job, makes some great udder, great framed cows, calving East bull, still wants to use some of that Gold Wind blood, definitely take a look at Guthrie. He's definitely one of those breeder satisfaction bulls, and people really, really like him.
Tony, now that you say that, I believe we've got some semen in here,
Yeah.
and I think we can get more. He's not a big seller in sex right now, but they're great cows.
Yeah. And we should use him on sex because, like I say, he outcrosses to a lot of things now that we have. So you might want to take a look at him just from that purpose. Golf is a bull that I know you guys always hear me talk a lot about. Again, he is a bull I've seen a lot of. We haven't got second crop daughters yet. The first crop, I loved him, loved the frame, the depth of body, the mammary systems on him. I've gone through a few herds that have used him through their yearling heifers, their breeding age now, and I just started picking them out, like, what's that, and say golf. And after about 5 or 6, I just kept like, is that a golf? Yeah. Is that one a golf? And I like when a bull does that. So similar to the daughters we saw when we did sets, a beautiful frame and dairyness, a beautiful rib. His dam is a shottle that has a few other sons through AI and put some really nice type. All the classifiers I've seen her say she's a tremendous cow with a tremendous rear udder and like really one of the standout cows in the Daisu herd. And she seems to be transmitting type through all of her sons and has been quite an influential cow. You kind of don't realize she's in the pedigree of a few bulls, but she is around. He himself a bull that still plus on fat, kind of a push on your components, plus on milk, plus on 3 points on his productive life, still really strong on type, and then the 2.59 on udders. He's still one of the leading bulls for udders in the breed. Again, he's a Bolton son. Again, again an outcross of some of the other stuff that we're using. There's not a lot of Bolton really in a lot of our bulls. We have maybe 2 or 3 sons, hen and fork. So it kind of offers something a little bit different if you're looking for that. Again, really tall, good uddered frame cows. If you look at his linear, really balanced. And then I've seen some of these or some of the original daughters, but I would say next year by this time we'll have a lot of second crop daughter pictures. McNuggets I put on here again, Baxter son, again something a little bit different than everything else that we see out there today. A bull that's plus on productive life. He's a marginal bull as far as calving age. I mean, some people get into 7, but that's kind of where they stop it off. But again, being a Baxter son out of an outside, again, it's a little bit different pedigree. A bull I think we've sold quite a bit of as far as our sales. He's been a good money maker for us. He's plus on conception. He's going to make really nice feet and legs, nice balanced, strong cows. I think a bull that will go back, you mentioned Million earlier on one of your herds, Harry. I think McNuggets is one of those bulls that are going to come in 2-year-olds, are going to be nice, and people are going to be happy with these third calf and second calf McNuggets milking 140 pounds and say, look at him. And as things I was telling Harry are so fast now, kind of like bulls like him, we're kind of getting to the, if you're going to use them, you need to use them now because things are going so fast. When they're second or third calf, probably be gone, or we might find 50 units on the bottom of the tank for you. And which your one guy is always cleaning us out on the last of everything.
This is a bull that's using real heavy now. Too.
Yeah. And it's a really good herd, and he knows the ones that are going to make it. Yeah. But you can see that picture alone sold a lot of McNugget semen. It's amazing what one good picture does. It's kind of just like when they do ads in People magazines. You see one lady with beautiful lipstick or one guy with a big buff chest. You take the same vitamins he does so you can look nice. And so far it's not working for me, Karen. Too many street dogs at home. But again, you can see all these cows and the kind of frame and strength they have, and you know that you're going to get the milk. And Baxter was a Blitz son, and No, Bliss is one of those bulls that got better with age. Baxter, a competitor bull, but I think it was the best bull that they've had in years. So, and I think of all the Baxter sons, I think McNuggets is probably underestimated and one of the best. And his biggest problem is he's at select. And there's just so many other bulls, I think he just kind of got shadowed out. And in a time when genomics got to be so popular, it kind of lost him. Bookham I put up here, and I know he's controversial with some people because of his conception rate. But yet, when I talk to people, I don't hear of a lot of problems. And it's the funniest thing. Me and Bill talked about a Jersey bull yesterday that people said, and we contacted some of our people, and they didn't have a problem with him. So it's not going to change. But I think he's one of the great udder bulls that we've had in years. Definitely, again, having a big influence on type in pedigrees with bulls like McCutcheon. But he's a Planet son. And again, still over 1,400 of milk. A bull that's plus on protein. He's not, it's marginal. Again, on fat, he's minus there. But his productive life is plus 4.3. So it's kind of, they're staying around. He doesn't have problems on that. His daughters don't seem to have conception problems. He's a 6.6 as far as calving ease. Now, this is a bull that I would just be using like crazy as far as calving ease. If you're a little concerned about his conception, then use him as a calving ease bull. Use him on heifers. I don't think you can miss out on a bull with the type of udder he sires, the type of rib, and a bull that we have plenty of semen on, again, as far as I know, readily available. So I definitely would use him.
I've had trouble with him even on heifers. His conception goes up and down.
Up and down.
Yeah. On the cows,
Did you measure the heat and like whether you drank the night before? Or?
seriously. On the cows,
Yeah.
I've had him be more consistent on the heifers.
Really? So you would think he'd do better the other way.
And that's what everybody said, but he on the cows, he'll move a little bit up and down, but on the heifers, he's more sporadic.
More sporadic. Good to know. Leave it to.
Maybe it's just me, like you said.
Maybe it's just you.
Yeah.
That. Here's an older one. I can't remember if she's third calf in this picture or second, but the deep rib and these nice shapely udders with good cleft, and he's transmitting that on to his sons, the next generation. And neat thing, I looked at some of our young bulls that we have coming up as far as genomic bulls, and even though he's not an extreme bull at this point, he seems, on the maternal side, he seems to really be showing up a lot. And I think it's a lot of these great type traits and udder traits that he's kind of bringing up the genomics on his grandsons coming through the maternal side of it. But I mean, if you look at them, one right after the other, that udder shape and rib, they're kind of all the same. Just really nice cows. Avery is a bull that I'm probably his biggest promoter. He kind of falls in the Gulf Stream with most bulls. I mean, it's no secret to most people that I was a huge Alexander fan. I love the udders and the dairy quality that they had. Again, Alexander had, really good components. Unfortunately, Avery didn't have the components that his sire had. A bull that I've used on a lot of the herds that I've had my SMS work on, daughters are calving in. The guys who have them really like them. Nice udders, medium-sized cattle. Again, usually I'll go through, they're reading numbers for me, one guy does, and he says, I don't even have to tell you, which one, what it is. I mean, I already know it's an Avery. They're just very consistent, and they're the kind, again, I think second and third calf is where people are really going to come on to these. And that's kind of the difference on some of these bulls. Again, he's an Alexander out of the shuttle there. And if you look, he's plus on productive life, he's plus on conception. The guys that I have that have used him, we're actually going back and using him again as a cleanup bull. He's priced really reasonable, so again, we're pretty happy with him. And now you look at his linear, and I'm not going to argue with the linear. When you look at the body and strength, they're that kind of immature, kind of 2-year-old that you'll see as they get better, the udders are there, they kind of grow into themselves. Here's one back at the SSI herd. She's excellent. You can see the udders again on him, pretty consistent. I just think he's a great bull as far as in commercial herds. Kennard was a bull that I've added on. It's kind of one of those new bulls that a lot of people don't talk about, but I got to see a lot of these on this last run when I did sets, and he's a Gabor son, and I know Gabor, most of us all really like the Gabors, and they turn out to be great cows and great udders, and It's kind of a bull that kind of got missed, but we did sample a few later sons. And I don't know that a lot of them will make it as far as the way the industry has changed and the genomic information and components and some different things in there. But this Gabor son has made it back, and he's out of a Baxter. And then a Goldwyn, so with it's kind of, again, an outcross to a lot of the Mogul, the Super Sire, and some of the stuff we have, and we're always asking for something different. I'm glad we brought this bull back into the lineup. He's a calving ease bull. He's plus on productive life. In this type, 1.75 udders, I think are better than that, and hopefully we get a little bit more information in on that. Maybe it'll come up some more. But his TPI, GTPI at 1995. I think he's kind of one of those bulls. Some bulls, kind of like his sire did in the beginning, their information, sometimes what comes up here doesn't always match what we're seeing, and for some reason it just never does. There's just, don't ask, I couldn't tell you. And that's kind of why I'm talking to you guys today, telling you what I'm seeing. And I think this is one of those bulls. When you look at his linear, you kind of wonder why his overall type isn't higher, why his udder score isn't higher. I mean, it's great linears, super four-udder, rear udders are there, they're high and they're wide. These are on 2-year-olds, so I look forward to this bull down the road doing a pretty nice job. Back east. Mexico. Mayfield was a bull that we released last time, and not sure, we were a little bit slow on semen. Didn't make a lot of semen last time, but we're good now.
Okay.
And Mayfield was a Domain son, Domain, a Toy Story son, and Domain was one of those early genomic bulls that got used quite heavily. Again, he's out of Shottle Maves, so it'll be the same as Golf and that pedigree, and a lot of type comes out of this. What I liked about the Mayfield was they had wonderful frames. They were long, they were dairy. The bull has got good production. He's plus on his conception rating, he's plus on productive life. Like I said, we didn't get on him because he wasn't available. He is available now. Being a Domain son, kind of puts him a little different. Mayfield, real consistent, great bull, over 1,000 milk, plus on productive life, plus conception. Look at the linear, it's really good. Again, a calving ease bull, superior settler, so this bull should really fit into a lot of our programs. And he's one of the bulls I'll be mentioning to your guy there, Harry, when I talk to him, that if he can fit him in, I think it'd be a bull that would work great, especially back on his millions and that sort. I think a bull like this would be really, really good. Some Mayfield daughters, again, you can see that length and stretch I was talking about in that style. I mean, if you told me back a couple years, this was a Valiant daughter, I wouldn't have argued with you, because that's kind of what she looks like. Same thing as you look at this here. But definitely a bull we can run with now. Headliner, again, as I said, is a brother of Super Sire. He's a robust, again, he's not a Domain son, but the kind of nice thing I like about him is he makes the same frames that we see on the Mayfields. They are tall, they're framey, they're long. This bull's over 1,800 of milk and plus on components. I never thought we'd see the day we'd see bulls, and we just had a rollback a year and a half ago, not even more than that, and we've got a bull almost here at a ton of milk. And usually when they got this high, they were minus 0.25 on fat or something like that. And here this bull's plus on fat, plus on protein. Look at the daughter Emmy average, 30,000 pounds. That shows how far the industry has come in years. Plus on productive life, so these cows are not only milking and testing, they're getting bred back and they're staying in the herds. His conception rate at 2.7, he's 2.21 on type, 164 on udders, and I know Karen went out and saw some of the same ones I had. We scored a good number of them. I really don't know why the bull's not 2.5 points on udders and 2.5 points on type. I really, really like these. And be honest with you, I would have been skeptical of Robust sons, and I'm very sold on Robust and what he does as far as his sons. You look at his linear here, that open dairy form. Again, mammary systems, you got 3 points on rear udders. Again, these are just beautiful rear uddered cows that are milking. You can see the shape and the dairiness and the length in these cows. Donatello, another Robust son, and Headliner and Donatello are both on a special, and I've seen a lot of the Headliners, not as much on Donatello. And I think the way these bulls are priced, and when you look at their information for milk and plus on components, their productive life, their conception rates, there's no reason that you can't run with these bulls. I mean, these are modern day genetics at very competitive prices, and some bulls that can do some great things. So again, here's the other robust son at 1,300 of milk, plus on components, extremely great on fat, almost I think he's 82 on fat now, yeah, and doing a good job. 6.9 on productive life, plus on conception, and again, limited information as far as daughters. Right, we got 24 and 11 herds. You're going to see a lot more information come in on his type information. But he seems to be doing the same thing as Headliner as far as making those really good rear udders, that great open dairy form, which you're going to see a lot in the robust sons, nice milky quality kind of cows with open rib and shapely udders. One's very good, it's 2-year-old. Another one in Ohio is 83, again that open dairy frame that we kind of see in all the robust. I mean, robust really puts these sons, his daughters and sons are just kind of these dripping wet, open, raw kind of cows that can really do a good job. Top 200 GTPI active genomic Holstein young sires. Who has more than anybody else? I guess we do by a pretty good margin there. And I think if you break down with our nearest competitor and look at the type in those bulls and the offering, you'd be really sold on these 45 bulls over those 38 bulls. So again, I think it's pretty good. We're almost double than the rest of the competition. So the future looks good. And right now, I mean, we're riding pretty high with what we graduated. But the first thing when the genomics wave came, Select was really the first company that bid onto that and really rode that and said this is going to be the wave of the future. And you know, everybody always worries about new things, but as you can see, it's paying off for us now. There's a few of the other companies that were probably more of your major competitors at that time that said, oh, we're not going to do genomics. They have nothing to do with it. And they're not even on there. Are they? Well, they are. They're right there. But they're way down there, and they're behind. They're behind the game right now. And I know as far as people that work for some of the competitors, they're struggling. It's really hard when people look at our lineup and what we have and the bulls, and you look at some of the competitor bulls. So it's a good place for us to be right now. So I added just a few genomic young bulls that I kind of like. We have semen on hand on most of these. One of the bulls I put in was, I told you how much I like Mayfield, and luckily we have a son of his here called Deceiver, which has been a really good seller for us. He's been a constant mover over the last couple of months. He's plus on milk, break even on his components, plus 5.1 productive life, and definitely has enough services now. He's plus on conception just like a sire, even higher than a sire is. He's a calving used bull like a sire, superior settler. And one of the reasons why I like the Mayfields a lot, and this bull is out of a Dorsey, which we don't have a lot of Dorseys, but that is a bull that I do like a lot. Sire's really good udders. He was Bolton and that whole family line of really good uddered animals. Next dam in here is the Goldwyn, and it goes all the way back to a 95 point Durham. That was quite a pretty cow that got shown a lot named Durchan, and it goes back to a Starbuck that was all American. So it's kind of got a traditional pedigree with a lot of type and great cows and kind of some of the stuff that traditional people like me kind of like to see. But yet we got the flip side where we got all the modern stuff with the genomics and production, and it's a really nice pedigree.
A bunch of people found this bull and he's a little bit short supply right now.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people never look deep anymore, and they started looking at it. Whoa, you know,
Yeah.
it's got these
All of a
cows in
sudden,
his
everybody
pedigree.
wants
It's
to
like
use it, so.
some of the people that like that kind are like, hey, we could use this bull. It's got numbers, and he can make the right kind. So, should be an exciting bull for the future. And he's probably named for kind of nice Deceiver, because most people don't realize how deceiving when you look back that there's something in there. But again, good linear. We'll see. Petty I put on here. He's one of the mogul sons that we have available. again, he's out of Explode. Explode was a bull that shows up high on some of the index stuff. Again, was a bull at a different company that has had an influence on some of the genomic animals. Not a whole lot. He didn't get used a bunch. The next dam was a Mac, and I did like the Macs a lot. Really good uddered cattle that were slow maturing, needed a little more body. But this should put together some really good information. He's 1100 milk plus on components. Again, high productive life. We have conception information. He's plus 2.3, and it's not a surprise to me that he's 2.84 on udders. When you get a bull like Mac, I mean, udders were his great thing. You got Mogul in there and Explode. This bull should be solid udders and type. Calving East bull again, superior settler, one available sex. And the neat thing about some of these bulls that I'm kind of watching, and I think a lot of us are looking at, some bulls for some reason have the gene, and like Petty is siring a lot of high genomic sons. He's transmitting a lot of stuff that's coming through. So a bull that we still have available that you could buy, and would be a good bull to get in early. I think he's probably headed the way as a sire as Mogul as being one of the top TPI bulls in the future. Getting really solid linear, if you look through, mammary systems, nice frames. Another bull I put on here was one of our early McCutcheon sons. That family, McCutcheon doesn't, we have some more coming through, but this is one we have available, but he's a ton of milk and still has that 2-point type, which McCutcheon, some people say not as much milk. Here's one that does. Again, I've told you how much I do like Baxter in the pedigree, bringing in that blitz. And so he's a McCutcheon out of a Baxter. Again, back to a Shottle. Calving ease again, available sex, and a superior settler. So again, should be an easy sell bull, a ton of milk, a guy that wants milk, plus on productive life, and high conception, and over 2 points on type.
What's his name?
Wonka? I didn't tell you Wonka? Like Willy Wonka? It's Wonka. So again, really good linear, genomic linear on this bull, so it should be exciting in the future. King Boy has been a bull that we've sold a lot of semen here, a bull that I really like his pedigree. Again, he's a McCutcheon son, out of a super, out of a Shottle, and a really good cow family behind him. That pedigree goes even way deeper to some really good cows. Kind of like Deceiver, you study his pedigree, there's some really, really interesting cows in the pedigree. He's 1,400 of milk, plus on productive life. We've already have conception information at plus 2.9. DPR at 1.7. Bullets 3 points on type, 2.5 on udders, 2 on feet and legs. I mean 2 across. High TPI, available sex, superior settler, and he's a bull that we've had plenty of semen. And I think we continue. With this kind of bull, you could probably, I heard that doesn't do SMS or mate, you could probably use straight across and come through with some pretty solid cattle.
He's a bargain now too.
He is. He's not.
It was $300. You
Not
can get for
$300 now. We dropped a few zeros. Not too many
As
zeros.
they get older, everybody wants the new super sample that comes out that's 2,600 TPI, and nobody can get it. And as they get older, they start making more semen. People move on to the next group, and a bull like this gets missed a little bit. He's still pretty high. I mean, he is, and if we can get semen now at this price, unless you're making sons for AI, it really doesn't matter if you're 6 months behind that trend that everybody's chasing. I would be on that.
Yeah, I think that's what Bill, a good point to notice is we're talking about 0.25% of the cows that need to use that bull when he comes out of the gate to make sons. And they probably stay in that little field for 6 months is pushing it. We have some coming out now that are 2,700, and we haven't even released them yet, and we're already not taking any more sons out of them because they're full. So, yeah, I mean, you can get some of these bulls if you're not in, I mean, this is high. I mean, this, and compared to what competitor bulls available, and this kind of bull, and we know that he can settle cows. You're not even taking any chances. He's a settler. He's got productive life. He's got all the stuff's already there. It's a pretty easy way to go. And with the release of the bulls we've seen this time, are bulls that have been rated high. We're having a great success rate. So your confidence in using a bull like this, making it, and being one of the top TPI bulls should be pretty easy. Again, pretty solid, straight through. Oh, Karen found a calf for me already. And like I say, I think this bull's going to do a little more stuff than people don't realize. It's kind of like Deceiver. There's some really, really good cows and scores and type in the back of this pedigree. And another one. Now I think I need to buy a cane when I leave here today. And just so you know, those are animals that people, it's not like we go look for calves to picture. That means people use the bull and he's making them that good and they're bringing them out. And that's how good he's making them just in general. So it's usually a pretty good sign when you start. McCutcheon was one of those that I hadn't seen in a long time where people put halters on and had calves, and we never kind of sold them that way. And you can see what he's doing as far as type in the industry. So Beamer, now here's a bull we did bring in to be a type bull that has a great pedigree. A McCutcheon son out of Gold Barbara, who's been Gold Banner, not Gold Barbara, a sister to her, and again a family that's extremely high in type. Back to the Shottle, back to the same family as bulls like Braxton and other high type bulls that have come through. He's over 900 of milk. He's plus on his fat. High conception at 4.1. And I know I've had a lot of people that have used him that have just, they'll show me their conception thing and he'll be like at 44%, 45%. I mean, just really, really impressed with him. We've got plenty of semen. He's 3.70 on type, which I'm not right if he's the highest, or he's right in there at the highest of the genomic bulls for available for type. We'll start seeing, not unless Karen already found one, but they should start sewing up some calves pretty soon. There you go there. Again, you look at his linear there; it's just like off the charts on a lot of the information. Bull himself, a really solid frame bull. She did find one already. See, she's pretty quick. This Karen finds these things, but yeah, these calves up in Canada. But yeah, they should be really good. I wouldn't be surprised if, do you know how old that one is? I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if there's some calves in the early classes at Madison this year, in the March calf class or something like that. Wow. Let's see.
She sells at the World Classic.
She sells at the World Classic. She's out of the great apples, I can see. So you can see the kind that he's going to make. Looks good. Spark. We put Spark on here. One of the early super sire sons that we have on hand. He's available sexed. He's a superior settler. Again, over 2,200 of milk, plus 3 points on sire conception already, plus 6.8 on productive life, 2 points on type, over kind of right at 1.5 on udders. The thing I liked about him was he was out of a Gabor. You're not going to find a lot of super sires out of Gabor, so it's a little bit of a different cross. And the next stand being a Baxter. So there's two bulls there in a row, Baxter, Gabor. Bull's not used a lot through our stuff in the general population. So he's kind of a super sire with a very outcross maternal pedigree. His incidence of inbreeding should be very low compared to most of the super sire sons that are going to be out there, because a lot of them are going to be out of Moguls or in that kind of range of bulls. So definitely a bull to take a look at. Again, good conception, high milk. I would think in that pedigree that those udders, he's going to beat that 1.5 would be my guess. That will, you guys can write that down. Maybe we can wage a bet for 3 years and see how good I did. But with those kind of frames and with that kind of rump width, I know he's going to have really good udders. You're going to have wide rear udders, and I think this will be a really good bull for us to use. Again, sexed, and he's a superior settler. And I don't know if it's just, some of these bulls are young, Bill, or if you've noticed over time is the number of good, our guys that select sires than the conception. I mean, we've got more bulls available with high conception than I can ever remember. And it's not within our company, this is through the industry. And you got to feel pretty good when you can go in and you don't have to like put your head down because this bull's minus 2 points and 3 points. There's so many of these bulls are high, and especially these young bulls. And I know when you get into the sex semen, today, still compared to a lot of competitors, we're still a leader. I mean, Select is very, very, very strict on what bulls that we sex and pull them on and pull them off. And most people, they'll tell you they'll only buy sexed from us, or if they're gonna flush a cow, if it's a sexed select bull, they'll flush her with that. If it's not, they don't even bother. And there's a lot of confidence in that product. And I know a lot of times in the past, well, why don't we do this bull or that bull? And we've been disappointed, like, we want them to do them, but the road that they took and they've put us on, I think we should be happy with, because people believe in our bulls as far as the sex semen and the conception we're getting with them. Marty was a bull that I really kind of like. He's a little bit really super sire son out of a Bookham, and I told you I really like what Bookham can do and the udders, and he seems to show up again, like I say, on the maternal side, doing a good job. Here's a super sire son that's almost a ton of milk, plus on components, plus on productive
160
life.
pounds Combined fat and protein.
Yep, it's high. Got used as a sire son. I know there's a few cows. We do have some cows that are mated for sons out in California, and we'll hopefully get some in soon. But he was a bull that was used for some fleshing for some bulls in the future. He was one that we definitely have a lot of sons coming out of. He hasn't, been out for a whole long time. So as far as conception information and stuff, I would say maybe December would have some preliminary stuff. But with the bulls in his pedigree, I think we'll be okay. But we're pretty available back there. Yep, we've got plenty of semen. Again, over 2,600. It kind of falls in that king boy thing. I know people were looking for him. We've got him now, and we're not too far behind on this bull. I mean, this bull just got done used as a sire sons. I mean, I still have one or two people I recommended they flush cows to him because of his combined fat, protein, and components. At least go for a female. He may not get a son in because we've got a lot, but you still need to consider using him as a flush bull. But again, early super sire son, Bookham, Oman, 3 generations, all really popular select bulls in a row. Definitely a bull worth looking at. You can see his linear there, very solid. Oops. This is a bull I did a little write-up for Karen here recently called Diamondback. I think he's out of the Apple family. He's a Dorman son, and Dormans seem to be really, really popular. I know last year at Madison he dominated the heifer classes. This is really good as far as the young heifers. We'll see as they turn into cows, but one of the really good type bulls in the industry now as far as show type would be the Dormans, and putting him back on the Apples, who was probably one of the, besides the Barber family at Reagan Crest, it's probably one of the most premier type families in the industry. And the neat thing about this bull, he's a Dorman son. I think there might be one now, but he's been one of the few available that is red factor. He is available sexed. He's been used quite a bit for fleshes right now with a lot of the red people, and probably one of the more popular bulls amongst the red people as far as getting some Dorman blood into the red bloodlines. This is still plus on milk at 48. He's plus on his components, plus on productive life, 3.08 on type, 2 points over on the rest of his type traits as you go through them. He's going to get used on reds and blacks equally. He's really one of the premier young kind of showcase type bulls that we've had available in quite some time, probably since we had the Beamer, but this is the first one I think with some red factor that really has something to offer. You look at his type, linear traits, again, high 2s and 3s, straight through, very positive. Conception that I'm getting back from people seems to be really good at this point so far. So he's a bull that you're going to see a lot more and hear a lot more of. We do have him available. He's not an on-hand bull, but so many people ordered him that we've constantly been ordering, and we have semen available on him. So don't let the not on-hand thing keep you from asking.
He's really popular with the show guys. And I know that's not our typical herd, but most of your commercial guys have a kid that's showing calves and maybe want to make a nice show calf. I think it's non-gold one. That's about as good as you're going to get right now out there. And we used him sex to flush an old cow. In the middle of summer, he made 10 good embryos, so he's fairly fertile.
We even have one of our more conservative type sales people down in the South Valley that I know jumped on him and been using him on his commercial herds pretty readily, so that'll be pretty good. We talked a little bit about fertility earlier and what I thought was a good thing, and if you look here, we're at 1.7. Definitely doing a good job out there. When you think of the number of units that we put out there and what we do and the amount of young bulls, which is amazing. These bulls, at first when we started with the genomic thing, these bulls went and make a lot of semen and the fertility, but I think they've really learned how to feed these young bulls and really get some good fertile semen early on them. And these young bulls are just really doing a great job. And the bulls that we keep in our lineup, we don't keep many that don't do a good job on that part as far as conception. People don't want them. There's very few exceptions to the rule other than the Bookham that we talked about, but he is such a breed outlier for so many other reasons that you learn to work within the parameters with them. But doesn't seem to be a problem with his sons and McCutcheon grandsons, King Boy. That all stems back to Bookham and all seems to be doing really well. So sometimes you need to take a chance on some of those. I always get a little confused on this one. Can you explain that one better, Greg? On the ATA averages. On conception,
I think it's just
it's
reflective
more
of SCR.
localized, isn't it, for us more, but it's more on the west, more,
It's more on the,
Yeah, not
actually
so far
processing
spread.
centers.
yeah,
right.
processing center here in
Yeah.
Tulare.
It's more raw data.
Right. And there's some differences, but as you can see, what we talked about and looking at that chart, it's kind of neat to look at is how we're on a steady climb where I've said things like these young bulls that we're using and some of the proven bulls that we're doing and the commitment into making sure that we have a good fertile product out there. And even with Bookham being off a little bit or some other bull, I mean, we don't get so stuck on holding out one bull. I mean, as a company, you got to look at a group of bulls, 5 or 6 bulls you put into a herd, and what your averages and what your group are. And to me, even mating, and I don't know if Fred will maybe disagree with me, but as much as we can go out there and punch numbers and do our thing, we're only as good as a group of bulls that they're going to use. I mean, I cannot take a minus 2-point type bull and make you something great. I just can't. I'm not that talented. I know Fred can do it. I can't do it. So I'm very picky.
At one point, you're doing damage control, at another point, you're making herd improvement.
That's about right, and that's what I always said. You're minimizing the damages. That's what I always said. So I like to have influence, as in the bulls and the group, because offsync day comes, and the next thing you know, it's warm. Then we let cows out, and you just start pulling out semen. So I like to be comfortable with the group of bulls you use, and not so much on the individual bull. And I think as time goes on, that'll be a big thing. But don't have a bunch of extreme bulls in your package. Package a group of bulls that are going to do a good job, that are solid. And whether bull 1 or bull number 4 gets pulled out today, you're going to end up with a pregnant cow and a really good daughter out of a select bull. And I think that's what you need to know. And with that, thank you. That was like Karen's writing. Did you write that one?
No.
And for those of you, we've all worked with Karen, but she definitely, I constantly hear from the other industries how we stole like one of the great people out there, which we have. And as far as promotions, and she put this together for me, I know she put one together for Greg. It has been such a blessing, because if I was putting this together, it wouldn't be here. Everybody knows that. So we're very thankful to have her here. And thank you guys for listening. Have any questions? Go for it.
You're doing sets in 2 months, you'll give us another group,
October, November.
another group of new siders. You'll inform Karen so she can put them in around all west.
July.
It's
What,
documented now. We gotta do it.
What Tony's seeing, it's nice to get somebody who's out there, because we don't get a chance to go out and see all those dogs.
Someday when you retire, you can just dump in a truck, grab a pair of boots, and I'll take you along. You'll probably have more fun than you ever had.
I will.
Is there any of the headliners in this general area that would be herds? that
There
you
are
guys
one
might be
herd
familiar with?
if you can get into, and they'll let us come in, and they will if Karen goes.
Oh my gosh.
Or if I go, but Hilmar has probably 20
20.
or so.
really?
And he was just one of those bulls, like I say, it goes way back to when I started working in AI with bulls like, a bull like, I know we're talking, I'm just honest anyhow, Mandel or Jed or Luke. When I see a bull, and that's when I started and learned about doing sets and how to find the bulls that I think are gonna do a good job. So when I went to this dairy, that dairy, and I'd start seeing one, two, and I'd start picking them out. And some of the classifiers I've worked with in the past have been just some great cowmen. We've had a great time working with some of that, and it gets to the point where we kind of laugh because we'll get to one, and after doing about 10 of them, we're like, oh, I bet this is one of those. You know, you look at, yep, that's one, and you can just start picking them out. And there's been a while in the industry where I'm going to be real honest, it hadn't been really good. I could tell you what they were sired by, but not in a good way. And it's this last year with the Mayfields, the Headliners, some of the, you know, like Avery's, you know, they're a little bit different type, but there's just, I'm starting to see more of a consistent pattern in bulls that I can say, whether, like I say, it's that day and you use him, and whether he gets bred to cow A or cow B and they're opposite cows, he's still going to make the same kind. And I'm seeing a lot more of that, and I like that. And so, with like a bull like Headliner, there's quite a few out there, and he was a bull again. You go through, and I saw 2, 3, and after that, it was, but that's a Headliner, and that's a Headliner, and you're just starting to look, and you'd see one, and you'd see a little more style, a little more length, and or you'd see an udder turn around with the cleft and the teats going away, you like them underneath, and like, oh, I bet that's one, you know, you'd look. So, and that's exciting, and it's, yeah, I'm kind of really thankful for the group of bulls we got coming through right now, as far as they're different than what we did in the past, but they're good, and it's made me change my way of thinking and moving forward, and you know, the past is the past, and sometimes we think things are good, but I mean, share with you guys, I'm sure Fred's seen it and Bill's seen it and stuff. You know, I've gone back once or twice and used a great old bull and got a daughter, and she calved out, and she was okay. But, and that day, probably good, but today, not so good. We go so fast, and every mating we do, and every time we go forward, you should be doing better. So it makes no sense to go back 8 generations from where you were and start there, because if you pick the right kind, and as I was told one time, there is no new genes. All the genes that God put into these dairy cows, whatever, we have them. All we do is we make a mating, we continue to resort and resort and resort, and like when you line breed or do stuff like that, you're trying to make those genes, you know, whatever ones you want, be more prominent and come and breed true and come time and time. So there for a while, I think the industry was all over the board. I think we're on a track now where we know what we want and what we're going to do. And I think with the genes, you know, with the genomics, I think on the type, that's the one thing which is interesting. Again, I shouldn't be talking this much, but milk and type has been also actually more accurate than milk. And I would think it would be the other way around. You think of all the DHI records and all the production that comes in, and all the different herds, and when you look at type, you know, there's 20-some people over the history constantly on staff that have been scoring cows, and how we've matched it up with the genes, and how the type is almost spot on. And the milk, we could still have some way. I mean, the gene is not maybe quite as accurate as the type, so definitely there's something to say to that. And I think, you know, we've had great, and that's one of my worries with Holstein. They've had good people, good solid people in the past, and that we don't do like some of the other breeds, and we continue to have good people evaluating, so that we keep putting in good information to keep making these genetic changes in these genes, so we know what we're doing.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but if I reflect on this SAR summary, when you look at our proven lineup, and you look at what our super sampler of the list, and what, you know, has come out of that, which is our current lineup, and you see the dominance that we have. I mean, I'm thinking if you go out to your customers, you got to feel pretty comfortable with the genetics that you're using in your herds, because of what we said was good, is good. It's proven out with daughter information. And so I think there's 2 things to come away with: is the confidence of the genetics that's going into your herds, but 2, going after those new herds and saying, hey, look what Select Sires is doing. Look at what, you know, genomics, and we're gonna have a little spiel on genomics, but look at what the predictions said. This is what's happened. Select Sires has utilized that tool very, very well, and I think it can open some doors to me.
Yeah, I mean, I know some people, we kind of give Bill a bad time because some of these bulls come out and, you know, well, they're priced at this and we can't. But yet, bulls like King Boy and, I just kind of got through my brains off, but some of the other bulls we brought there, some of the Super Sire sons and stuff, I would be on these bulls because really, if things are going as good as they are, I really won't want to use Super Sire. I want to use his 2 best sons. And if I can get him at a better price than what he's available for right now, I wouldn't even think twice of wanting to use Super Sire. Because I'm going to have the daughters of that bull. I want to be on the front line. Getting Super Sire daughter now, you're talking 2 or 3 years. I'm not trying to like get rid of the bull, but that's behind time. You can use his son. I mean, that's going to be obsolete. That's like I say, as far as going forward, we're going so fast, and the confidence level, like you know, we've said, is so good. Why are you not jumping forward on these bulls? If they're available and you can get them, I would go for them.
If you take a historical perspective, genetics are a bargain today. I mean, they're peanuts compared to what we used to be for the quality you get. And the one thing that genomics has done in terms of young sires is just eliminated the wrecks on the bottom end
Yeah, we had a lot of wrecks.
in the old days.
As far as, like I say, conception has gotten better, and the one thing I always do when I talk to people, and I know prices of milk are kind of sliding down, this and that, if you have people that they actually graft historically what they pay for semen, and the cost of everything else they had in their dairy, the semen is either about the same or less for some people. It's really not climbed the inflation that you see in everything else. I mean, I bought more expensive semen 20 years ago than I do today. And
The genetics are better.
my rule of thumb, it's kind of a weird one, Bill's probably say, where the heck did you come up with that? But one night, Star came in my head, is if milk's $14, then you should probably be blending $14 on your semen. If milk's 10, then you should be blending 10. If milk's at 20, you could probably afford to get up there at 20. Whatever it is per hundredweight, that's what your blend of semen should be. And that's just kind of always been a rule of thumb for me. If milk's down at $9, then yeah, you probably need to be at $8 or $9. But, you know, so that's kind of my rule of thumb, a blend. And milk's been really high and some people didn't blend. But I know Fred knows, and Bill, you can go to his herd, and you've seen herds. The herds that have always used the best bulls and invested in semen by far have the best cows, some of the best herd averages. And when those herds do sell or do disperse whatever time, they always get a premium. It always pays back. So
I like your little rule, but the one I always heard was the guy said they would, they put their bull calf money in a little jar, and that's the money they spend on semen. If they're getting $500 for bull calves, now's a good time to go out and tell them to up their blend. This is the way it should work.
and that's why you tell some people, you know, whatever your concept, it's 30, if you're getting 30 40 calves, whatever your is per 100 units, you know, and half bulls, take your price of your bull calves, and you're getting your heifer calves still. I mean, that's cheap. I mean, you put, you know, a $20 unit in a cow, and if you get a heifer calf, you got a great heifer, and if not, you got a $500 bull calf. I will give anybody $20 that will give me $500 back in 9 months right now. I'll give you all 20.
Harry's probably told this to guys too, you know, that it costs you, whatever it costs you to raise a heifer. Wouldn't you rather have a heifer coming in the barn out of a good bull that you pay $20, say it costs you $20 more to get her bred? What percentage of the total is that when you get this good heifer in the barn versus this?
Slug.
Yeah.
It's really a no-brainer when you really stop and think about it. But, we need to educate our dairymen. to
Oh,
some of these facts.
some of us have been trying for a while.
Yeah. Join the club, Fred. Yeah.
But they're not gonna buy a cheaper pickup truck.
We want them to pay their bill.
Yeah.